Hi there. So I'm Luna Anna. Thank you for coming to watch this video. And I'm currently doing this on my Facebook page, so it's a Facebook Live. Normally I do let people know that I'm going to do a live, but I was just guided to come on now actually, even though I think it's tea time. So there might not be any viewers, but I know that people can watch the replay, and I'm also going to share this onto my YouTube channel. So both my Facebook page and my YouTube channel can be accessed by @LunaLouiseAnna. So welcome wherever you are, if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay or YouTube, welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. It's my honour to serve the healing and awakening of this planet through the empowerment, enlightenment and equity of women. And I do this through healing and offering healing services and doing videos and things like this. So if you're here and you're watching, thank you so much for coming to watch, giving me a reason to do these videos. So more and more I am feeling called to do videos and to do healing work. And what's been happening for me on a personal level is that my relationship with Divine Mother is opening up, really, and I'm feeling more and more guided by her, and I'm feeling her hand outstretched in things, and she's also asking me to do things, and a lot of them I'm like, oh, I'm not sure, I don't really want to do that. You know how these things go on the spiritual path. It's often, oh no, I don't want to do that. It's the thing that you get asked to do, isn't it? And she's asked me to come on just now and to answer the question, why is there so much darkness right now in the world? And I fully appreciate that that's a big question to answer. So I'm a little bit scared, not gonna lie. But I think it's one worth talking about, and I think it is important that we do talk about these things. And the one thing I'm very good at is giving different, unique spiritual perspectives, things that might not already be out there in the mainstream, things that maybe you know deep in your bones intuitively somewhere, but you need somebody to say it before you can actually recognize it. So it's kind of revelatory sometimes. Sometimes it prompts realizations, and other times it can be healing, and sometimes it might not resonate with you. But I'm going to come on and do my best anyway, because of the guidance that I've had to do so. So again, thank you for being here and listening. Before I answer the question, I really want to speak to the human element of us, the part of us that is vulnerable, and the part of us that no doubt in these current times is feeling traumatized, or at the very least dysregulated in the nervous system. Maybe you're feeling anxiety, maybe you've got different coping techniques that are kind of like, oh, it's all nonsense, it's all illusion, whatever. The human aspect cannot live through the atrocities and heinous crimes that are all around us at this time. If we're being really honest, it's hard to live surrounded by, the worst crimes that you could even think of. We've got genocide, we've got war, we've got rape, we've got murder. There's a lot of things like racism coming to light. And all of those things are harsh on the nervous system and for the human experience. Because they don't feel loving, they don't feel kind, and they don't feel safe. And because as humans, we have, compassionate hearts, we have empathy, we're sensitive, we pick up on how other people are feeling. Maybe we're incredibly empathic. I think all humans are. It's just a case of how far down the scale they are. And so we can almost feel within our cells and our bones and our bodies what is being enacted on our brothers and sisters in this world. And that hurts. It hurts a great deal. And it is hard to be around and to constantly see it. And I'm not a person, I don't have a TV. Excuse me. I don't have a TV. And I don't watch the news. But I do have social media accounts. And it is really hard to be bombarded with what is happening in the world that is painful. And at the same time, you don't want to turn away. As the saying goes, turn a blind eye. None of us want to do that. We're all good humans. We all want to do something to help. We don't want to see people suffering. We don't want to see people hurt. We don't want people to be being murdered, massacred, raped, abused. None of us want to see those things. So that's the human side. And I've got to be honest, outside of taking care of yourself and just doing what you're called to do, I don't really have any answers for that side of us. And so I'm going to speak about the spiritual aspect. And the spiritual aspect is the intangible. So it's not what's right in front of you, what you can see. It's not the obvious thing. It's the thing that's in the darkness usually. And I know there's lots of people that have spiritual vision now and are, what we would call awake. So in other words, just aware. But there's also lots of people that don't have that yet and aren't at that stage yet. And so I'm going to really kind of speak about, what's happening spiritually with the hope that it brings a bit of clarity, maybe a realization, and just that it helps in some way, whatever way that might be. And so what I wanted to speak about, sorry, I'm falling off my chair here. My son moved in and I've had to move my, what was an office into a little corner in my bedroom. So everything's a bit kind of propped up against things and that. So apologies for that, sliding down my chair because it's on a funny slant. So what I want to do is speak of these kind of spiritual perspectives and just holding out my hand really and offering them by way of some comfort. And again, I really want to be very clear that this spiritual perspective does not negate what is happening on a human level, and nor is it a bypassing or a, oh well, let's do nothing then. That's not the message, okay? So, when we can see horrible things in the world, there's two reasons for that in terms of spirituality, okay? The first is when something heals, it is brought, the darkness of it is brought to the light. And when something is brought to the light, what happens? You can see it. Yeah. having a light on means you can see things that were hidden in the dark previously. And that is what is happening. So we can see all the things that were hiding away in the dark. They can't hide anymore because there's more light on the planet. So it's a bit like having a great big light bulb switched on and suddenly going, oh my God, look what's been hiding in those dark corners. And so if you can see it, it's because it's in the light. And if it's in the light, it means it's healing. Or if you want to be very spiritually accurate, it means it's actually healed. And it's just the ripple effect of the energy that we see playing out before us. And that's all well and good. But when people are being murdered and hurt, that's not enough. That doesn't feel like enough. It just doesn't feel like enough. I know that. And it's helpful to just remember that it is already in the light, or we wouldn't be able to see it. And the reason why things get sort of crazier and crazier is because we're all healing now on some level. If you think about what's happening to a planet full of people who are healing, you know, in our own psyches, you know, the stuff that we've got stuffed down the back of the furniture that we don't want to find is all being found, and it's all being worked through. And then that means, you know, because we're also a collective as well as an individual, in the collective, all of that energy plays out in front of us in the most horrible ways. And it doesn't mean it's all a play or even that it's just all energy. Like I say, this isn't a bypassing thing. This is just intended to give another perspective. You know, because there's more than one facet to what's happening. Like I say, there's the human, and then this is, you know, some of the spiritual perspective of what's happening. So that's one thing. It's being brought to light because it's in the process of healing. Well, it's healed. It's the kind of the backlash of the energy of what's been healed is here for us to see. So we can say, bye-bye, off you go. We don't want to see you again. And then the other side of it is everything in the universe is a feedback system. And it's a feedback system designed to direct us to what needs healing within us, what needs healing within the world, and also it is also designed as a feedback system to wake us up. So those of us that are already feeling like we're fairly spiritually awakened or are already quite sensitive, and we're not the sort of people that are burying our head in the sand, that kind of thing, you know, the things that we can see in front of us are more of a call to action. But for those that haven't quite got to that stage yet, and their evolution hasn't reached that point yet, you know, maybe they're still in addictive behaviours, maybe they're still telling themselves that they're okay in their little bubble, so they just pretend nothing else is happening, that kind of thing. They just haven't reached the point yet where the feedback is going to wake them up. But what we're seeing is just getting worse and worse because it's designed to wake everybody up. You know, it's actually designed for us to say, no, we can't let this continue. What can we learn from this? What can we do to stop it? How can we help? What can we do? And it's really designed to bring us together to do that. And this doesn't have to be in a fighty, rebellious way, because actually, you know, that's actually an energy from the dark, is a fighty, rebellious energy. It's actually a similar energy to the one that we're trying to stop. So we don't want to create more. Yeah, so we don't need to be all up in arms and fighting, and because that just adds fight energy to the conflict that we can see in the world. So we don't want to be conflicting. So the only thing left to do is to come together as community. When we come together as community, can you just sense that has a totally different energy to fighting things and, having to fight against things? The way to redirect the dark energy that we see is not to become one with it. And it's not to bring out more of the same type of energy. So the more of the fighty energy, more of the angry energy. And I'm not saying that anger is bad, by the way. It's absolutely justified, righteous and called for in the current circumstances. But we don't want to be adding to that energy. So even if we are angry, we have to use that to propel us to do something that isn't angry. Something creative, for example, or something passionate. Anger has quite a passionate, fiery energy to it. So you can do something that you're passionate about. Whether that be campaigning for awareness, whether that be setting up petitions, writing to MPs, volunteering for charities, setting up a charity. Or you can do something on a smaller level within your own community. And if you don't have the time, the energy, or even the inclination maybe at this stage to do something like that, you can be supportive in other ways. There are other people doing this work and you can support them by sharing things on social media. Support the people that are doing the work if you can't manage to do anything towards it. And I fully understand that, because some of us are just smashed at pieces by this, and by our own healing journey. Some of us are just in the smashed to pieces bit of the healing journey. And if that's the case, that's okay. But all of it is a wake-up call in some form or another. So it's a call to action. It's a call for change. If you look back over history, you can see it repeating itself now. And actually a lot of what's happening now that we're all upset about has been happening for so long. Some of it centuries. Lots of it over decades. You can go back in time and see the same thing has been happening, and in some cases the same thing has been happening to the same group of people for so long. And then if you compare that to your own life, when something is on repeat, great example of that is, if you keep having crap relationships and eventually you go, oh, I'm coming off the dating apps, I'm not having any of this anymore, and you retreat and you decide to have some healing and to change something. And you also draw a line and say, I'm not having this anymore. And when you do that, and then you go back out to date, it's often then that you meet somebody totally different. But if you didn't notice the pattern and do something about it, then you'd be stuck in the pattern still. So all this darkness that is patterns that are on repeat, it's just asking us to do something, change something, heal something, be that change. That's all it's there for. It's just asking for us to do something. And each individual will have their own calling and their own things that they can manage or they can't manage to do, and the things that they can offer. and one of the most important things that you can offer is to heal yourself. Because as I was just speaking about how the collective energy is fed in from all of us individually, and how what happens from that then instructs the outside world, then you can see that one of the best things we can do for ourselves and the world is to heal ourselves. And there's so much available now. I mean, there's so many therapists and healers. There's lots of healing available online now. You can get things for free even if you can't afford it. So we can all do the healing. Even if we just decide we're going to meditate, we're going to do something, some practice or another of self-care. That's an easy, simple step that we can take. And that's all it is. We're just being called to get together collectively and change. And to take a look at where we went wrong in the past and learn from it. The only time things are on repeat, the only time history repeats itself is when we don't learn the lessons. And no one's to blame for that, because sometimes we're just not ready, or sometimes there's not enough people have learnt the lesson. Sometimes it's easy to learn a lesson, you know this in your own life. Sometimes a lesson is easy to learn, sometimes it's like you have to be smacked around the head a few times before you get the lesson. Life's like, oh my God, we're going to have to do this again. She's not getting it. We have that in our own life, so we can see how that would happen on a wider scale for people. And so we don't need to be afraid of the darkness that we see. Oh, hi Chrissy, it's lovely to have you. Thank you so much for coming and watching and for commenting as well. I really appreciate it. Lots of love to you. Thank you. And we don't need to be afraid of the darkness that we see. Do you know what? I'll let you into a secret. The darkness is way more frightened of you, because you shine so bright. And the fear that you sometimes feel when you're around darkness is actually just empathing the fear the dark has of your light, because it's your light that is transforming it. It's your light that is going to be the change. It's your light that is the change maker in the world. And you don't have to believe that for it to happen, but the thing that accelerates it is believing it and knowing it. And just like a little mantra that you can say every day, I am the light I am. And the more you accept that, the more your light will grow. And the more it will be reaching far places that you just don't even realize it's working in. This is not just what's in front of you and the people around you. Your energy field is vast. It can even be on other planets. That's how vast it is. In other dimensions. Taking codes from there, and it can be like an exchange, like a super highway sometimes. So that's how powerful it is. But it gets more powerful the more you acknowledge it, and the more you determine, I'm going to use my light for the greater good. And that can be in any small way. It doesn't have to be a great big deal. It can be a small way. And it can be used any way you like, because we need the variety. because that's when light becomes accessible to people who ordinarily wouldn't be able to notice it or access it, by having a variety of ways. So if we were all doing a video like this, then there'd only be a handful of people that would be reached. So it's our own unique ways that do that. And you will know in your heart what your calling is. Trust it. Believe it. Because whatever's in your heart is right for you. And it's the guide on your path. Just walking slightly ahead of you. Saying this way. It's never wrong to follow your heart. And yes, sometimes we have to have discernment because some of our patterns of behaviour might not be fully healthy. With maybe aspects of ourselves that we haven't fully embodied yet. But ultimately it's safe to follow your heart. And the more people that do that, the more that will spill out into the collective. And once there's lots of people doing that, and it really begins to spill out into the collective, well, then we're at the tipping point. And once we reach the tipping point, there really is no going back. So we've recently had one of those tipping points. You may have felt it really this year. We kind of, well, at the end of last year, we tipped the scales. And then that moved us into this year, which, you know, I think we can all just honestly say has been batshit crazy. And that's why. Because there's no going back. It's just a question of how long, how many times we have to come and do this lifetime together. How many times we have to live this same life over before everybody gets it. And everybody will get it in the end. So I hope that's helped. And I just felt like we needed, you know, a bit of the kind of the softer element of what's happening. The bigger picture, if you like. Because, you know, it can get too much very quickly with what's out there in the world right now. And also because, you know, I did want to give the message that it's so important that everybody does their bit. Even if it's a tiny bit, even if we don't know what the heck we're doing. It's just so important to just go and do it now. Because the more of us that do it, the better chance we have of this darkness taking the timeline, because there's lots of different timelines that this can take, you know. Taking the timeline that is the most effective, which can sometimes be the most painful, but it's usually the quickest. Or, you know, we can keep hiding and pretending that we don't have gifts and light to share. And then, you know, it might well take longer to heal, but we will get there, regardless of what route we choose collectively. So I want to say thank you again for watching, and thank you so much, Chrissy, for your comment. I really do appreciate it. So if you're interested in healing and you would like to heal with me, you can visit my website at lunalouiseanna.com. There's lots of different services that I offer on there. You can always just send me an email and talk about what your needs are if you can't see what you need on there, because I can tailor things as well. Okay, So once again, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can go to either of those by @LunaLouiseAnna. That's the tag for both my page on Facebook and my YouTube. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a really lovely night. Take lots of care. Bye.